Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the GrapHER Club podcast. As we are reaching the end of the year, we are so happy to have you here to present to you our guest of this episode. Her name is Amanda Tuminelli. She is the Chief Legal Officer of the DEF, the DeFi Educational Fund. I don't think you want to miss her story, so you better stay tuned in this one. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you
I
doing?
am doing very good. It is very special for us to have you here in this podcast, so we have to thank you for that. And of course, we want to know a bit of a quick introduction about yourself. It can be personally or professionally, however you want.
Sure, I'll try to hit a little bit of both. So I am the Chief Legal Officer at the DeFi Education Fund. I'm based in New York, but the organization is based in DC. I've been a lawyer for about 11 years now, and recently, in the past 3 to 4 years, got involved in the crypto blockchain DeFi space. Before that, I was doing white collar criminal defense and securities litigation. And I have a golden doodle named Bader that I'm obsessed with, and I love cooking and fantasy novels, which you can probably see in my background.
It's really awesome. And I think that we can start writing with the onboarding experience. I really think that the audience would like to know if you can tell us a little bit about your background because the quick introduction that you just did about yourself is very interesting. And everyone, I think that we would like to know how was your first like involvement with DeFi space and what drew you to the intersection of law and blockchain technology?
Sure. So when I was still in private practice, actually before I came to DEF, I started to represent clients that were accused of crimes related to digital assets and start working in the blockchain space with securities litigation and investigations. And I really was really drawn in by it because a lot of criminal law is very old and very established, and it's a lot of just rinse and repeat of the same old laws to just like slightly different facts. But crypto and blockchain presented a new application that just was totally different than anything I had seen before. And it felt like a place that I could innovate even as a criminal defense lawyer. So that's what initially drew me to the space in private practice. And then I was lucky enough to find this job at DEF, which gave me an opportunity to think more globally about how the law should evolve so that people can continue to innovate and create things using blockchain technology and DeFi. And I will say that it was a baptism by fire. Going from private practice to the crypto industry was definitely challenging. There's just so much to know, so much to keep up with. But it was great. I was really lucky to have a team of people that were willing to roll up their sleeves and help me learn everything I needed to learn. And I've been really just grateful for the experience.
I really gotcha. And as the chief legal officer of DeFi Fund, what are some of the most pressing legal challenges that you've encountered in this rapidly evolving space? Like, how do you navigate to these challenges while promoting also the innovation?
Sure. So, as I'm sure you and a lot of your listeners know, the regulatory landscape for DeFi and for digital assets generally is constantly shifting. It's also a lot of gray area. So, especially in the United States, especially right now, there's a lot of change happening. But for the past few years, I think the industry has been trying to figure out the best way to exist, the best way to do that while complying with securities laws and commodities laws and figuring out where the industry fits into all these, decades, if not hundreds of years old statutes. And globally, we're seeing other countries also wrestle with these issues, trying to marry old laws with new tech. So I think the challenge here is trying to either make new law that actually does make sense with the technology, or amending or shifting understandings of laws that currently apply to the securities markets or commodities markets so that they make sense with the technology. It's creating a path. We're trying to create a path forward so people can continue to build and still stay within the confines of the law.
I see. And how do you view the current regulatory landscape for DeFi, like globally? Because I know that the DeFi fund, it's like focused on the USA, but are there any specific regions or countries that are more like progressive or restrictive when it comes to like DeFi regulations that you know?
Sure. So, like globally, I think everybody is still trying to figure it out, right? I think that there's been digital asset related developments in the law, but DeFi, um, more specifically, there is not any country that I'm aware of that has like a comprehensive DeFi framework. And I think that's a good thing, right? Like we're seeing Europe actually take the time to dig in and study DeFi before trying to regulate it. And I think that we're going to see the US do something similar, right, in the next year or so with the new administration. Um, to me, and I think to DEF in general, it just doesn't make sense to try to regulate DeFi, which is kind of like the hardest part of this tech, before regulating general digital assets, before regulating stable coins, right? Like there are these things that look much more like existing financial structures, like a stable coin, although they are different in important ways. It makes more sense to regulate those things and get laws on the books that make sense for them before we get to DeFi, which is, I think, totally different from any previous financial system or financial structure that we've seen.
It's awesome, like this perspective that we have, because, like, given these legal uncertainties in DeFi, like, what is your advice? Like, what advice would you give to other legal professionals or their areas that are working in or transitioning into this space? Like, how should they approach to these regulatory gray areas while mitigating the risk?
So yeah, it's a great question. I think it's something that I think about all the time, and this answer might be different if you ask me like a week from now or a week ago, because it is a constant challenge to keep up with the latest statement from a regulator, statement from the government. But I think a lot like common sense goes a long way. Like like don't do fraud, don't make misrepresentations, right? Like I think that there's some basics that apply no matter what technology we're talking about. And then when it comes to the really hard stuff, like is what we're talking about something that could be an SEC registrant, for example, or does it look more like something that the CFTC would regulate? Those issues, like I think you just have to try to approach them with good faith, with as much common sense and previous understanding as you can. And to me, like my superpower is my network of people who I trust, whose opinions I value. And I think that the best thing you can do is surround yourself with people who also have good judgment and who can weigh in when there really are tricky questions. Because to me, like you can make up for a lot of what you don't know with your drive to figure it out. So I think that there's a lot of resources out there, and using all of them and approaching the problems in good faith gets you a large way there.
Hmm, I see. And I have to like ask because the audience has like several questions about this, but I want to like know what the DEF is for the audience, because I think that that would be like really a much comprehensive like sense of why are you talking about legal aspects in DeFi. So maybe we can like have a quick off-topic question just about that.
Sure. Yeah, I should have started with that. Actually, that's on me. So the DeFi Education Fund is a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy group, and we advocate for the rights of DeFi developers and users. And the way that we do that is we do a lot of education. We educate members of Congress. We respond to proposed rulemakings by regulators. And since I joined, we've been doing a lot of impact litigation, which involves suing the government for a declaration of law. So, for a court interpretation of a statute or of a particular regulation, so that we can try to create room for people to be able to innovate in DeFi technology.
Great. I think that that's like a very good context about this. And I think that we should have like DEF in different like areas in the world, specifically in Latin America. I am from Latin America. So I would really like to see in the next upcoming years to be, I don't know, present in the DEF, like expansion in itself. So I think you're doing a great
I
job.
totally agree. Yeah, no, we want to expand. We want to have a more global reach. I think that that is, I think we're aligned, and we are always looking to hire great people in other jurisdictions. So, if anybody is hearing this and wants to get involved, they should definitely reach out.
Perfect. We are going to leave the webpage and some contacts that you're going to leave us for our audience to like just make an involvement in this matter. So I think that that's like really good for us to like know about the DeFi Education Fund and the legal aspect. But I really want to like address the part that is very specified in this podcast, the gender and inclusivity in Web3. So, given the legal uncertainties in DeFi, I want to like ask you how what advice would you give to other legal professionals working in or transitioning into this space, because it's not easy, and maybe there are some women out there or people in general that worked in legal in Web2 or in corporate jobs, and how should they approach to these like area in blockchain or in DeFi? Like, what is the advice that you would give to them? Because maybe it's very hard for them to like seek for a special place in here, and maybe they are very afraid of not getting involved because they don't see much involvement in it.
Sure. And I think that's so understandable. I think crypto in general can feel really opaque and daunting from the outside looking in. Like it can just feel, even just at a basic like understanding level, it can feel really difficult to like like think that you have the knowledge to jump in and opine, and I can relate to that because I felt that way myself for a long time. And I would say that once you kind of take the leap, I like in my experience, it has been a lot easier to just dig in versus like try to plan about digging in. But I think from a a diversity perspective, I like some of the most amazing crypto lawyers I know are women and from diverse backgrounds. And I would say that it can feel like those groups are underrepresented because they are, but there are amazing people that are actually working in crypto already that can prop the door open for you. So I would not hesitate to reach out to somebody that you admire who has a shared background with you, or who, is part of a minority group that like you feel affinity with. I think that often, like I said earlier, like your network, your allies, your support system, those are the people that can really help you feel more comfortable, tell you what you don't know so that you can go figure it out. And I think those relationships are the most important. Like I would not be where I am if I didn't have amazing mentors along the way. So my advice is always to like find someone whose career you want to emulate and make yourself absolutely indispensable to that person, whether that is through your work with them or personally. Think about what you can provide to them and what they can provide to you.
It's really good, this advice. And you've mentioned like you should like try to seek for a mentor, but have you had the opportunity to mentor other women pursuing careers at the intersection of law and DeFi? And if that's so, what advice would you give to women looking to break into this niche but rapidly growing in the field?
So I've definitely had the opportunity to mentor young lawyers and young women who want to be lawyers. I don't know if I have a formal mentee relationship with somebody in DeFi right now, but when I was at Cobra and Kim, we had an analyst program, which was recent college graduates would come to the law firm and work like as paralegals, but like did a lot more than the average paralegal. And I was a lawyer there, and I went out of my way to make sure that I was mentoring young women who wanted to go to law school. And I would always tell them what I just told you, which is like, I will be your lifelong reference. Like, I will be your person who you can list on any job application, and I will give you both like very constructive feedback and positive feedback as we go. So I don't know that there's something specific that I would say that's different for DeFi other than like learning the tech is really important. I think there's a lot of people in the space who talk about crypto and talk about DeFi without really engaging with what the tech means and how it's different. Like DeFi technology is fundamentally so different than even centralized digital asset technology, right? So I think really having a deep understanding of the tech can make you so valuable to somebody who doesn't know as much as you or who maybe knows more about like a different area related to DeFi, that would be the place I would start. Like learn the tech and find a mentor. I guess those are my takeaway points.
They are really important ones, and I think that we are getting to this part of the podcast where it's my personal and favorite part. It's because you can like finally add a message or advice to our listeners, and in this case, it can be like in the DeFi space or in general, looking for legal frameworks to be part of or anything. But I really want you to have this space to like give your personal message to our audience, because we have a lot of people interested and they were looking forward to see this podcast and to see you as a guest, of course.
Yeah, so I would say that I think DeFi is the path towards a future that is more inclusive and is more equitable. That's why I got into DeFi. I have very progressive values. I understand the industry feels like it's moving um, in one political direction, but I would say that like I came to this space as somebody who cares deeply about equitable inclusion, putting access to finance in the pocket of every single person all over the globe, no matter where they're located. And there's so many people who share that basic value in DeFi. So, like, your people are here. And I think that if you care about those issues, there's so many organizations like ours and also different from ours that are doing great work in this space. And there's so many ways to be involved. Even if you don't want to be a full time employee, there's volunteer opportunities. There's just like joining a Discord, joining a group, like contributing, a blog post here or there, or your opinion on something. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We really welcome people's opinions, thoughts, questions. Part of our mission is to educate. So if we can be helpful, please let us know. And if you'd like to support us, we would love that as well.
It's awesome. Okay, so I think that I will be the first volunteer because I really like would like to understand how can I bring like these I don't know if regulatory things or maybe like just the education towards Latin America. So I think that that would be really awesome to see in the future upcoming. So thank you so much, Amanda. It was really nice to have you here, and I'm sure that it would not be our first and last time. I would really like to have you in our second season if we have one, or maybe in some I don't know IRL event that we are like maybe hosting. So thank you so much, and I think that's it. If you want to say something more, just say it.
I was just going to say thank you for having me. And we would love to collaborate. So definitely don't be shy. And I hope we do this again.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, and bye.